The moment time refused to behave, time feels reliable. It moves forward. It keeps pace. And it never seems to argue with itself. But there was a moment when that trust collapsed. When scientists realized time was not the steady background everyone assumed. It could stretch. It could slow. And under the right conditions, it could refuse to behave at all. To understand why this matters today, we have to revisit how time was originally understood. Time was universal, a single ticking rhythm shared by the entire universe. Seconds pass the same way everywhere. For everyone, clocks merely revealed it. They did not create it. This idea worked because nothing seemed to challenge it. Daily life reinforced it. Machines synchronized. Planets followed predictable cycles. Cause-followed effect. Time appeared absolute, dependable, and detached from motion. But cracks appeared when measurements became precise enough to compare distant clocks. Subtle discrepancies emerged. Tiny mismatches that could not be explained by error or malfunction. Time, it seemed, was slipping. The first hints came from motion. Clocks carried on fast-moving objects ticked differently. Not broken, not delayed, just different. As if speed itself was interfering with time's flow. This was not supposed to happen. Time was meant to be immune to motion. Then gravity joined the conflict. Clocks closer to massive objects ran slower than those farther away. Time bent near weight. It pulled where gravity was strong. The universe was treating time like something flexible. This was the moment time stopped being a backdrop and became a participant. It was no longer universal. It was local, personal, dependent on motion and gravity. Time was not refusing to behave randomly. It was revealing what it had always been. And once that realization took hold, there was no going back. At first, these effects seemed too small to matter. Fractions of seconds. Tiny distortions only visible with precision instruments. Easy to dismiss as technical quirks. But the deeper scientists looked, the more unavoidable the conclusion became. Time was not fixed. Motion altered it. Gravity reshaped it. And there was no universal clock ticking in the background to keep everything aligned. Each observer carried their own time, shaped by their path through space and mass. This realization introduced a deep conflict with everyday experience. If time could flow differently, then simultaneity lost its meaning. Two events could be simultaneous for one observer and sequential for another, not because of perception, but because time itself disagreed. This broke a fundamental assumption, that there was a single present moment shared by the universe. Instead, the present fractured into countless personal timelines, each valid within its own frame of motion and gravity. As this idea spread, it challenged how causality was understood. Cause and effect depended on timing. And if timing varied, then the structure of events became relative. The universe no longer offered a single narrative thread. Experiments confirmed this again and again. Atomic clocks diverge when separated by altitude. Satellites age faster than receivers on Earth. Navigation systems required time correction to function at all. Reality was enforcing the theory with brutal consistency. Time was no longer something that happened to the universe. It was something the universe did. A dynamic dimension shaped by energy, motion, and mass. And once that was accepted, time stopped being familiar. The question was no longer whether time could misbehave. It was whether it had ever been well behaved to begin with. The conflict deepened when physicists realized this flexibility had limits that could not be crossed. Time could slow dramatically, but never stop completely. It could stretch, but not reverse freely. There were boundaries baked into reality, and crossing them required impossible conditions. This raised an unsettling question. If time depends on motion and gravity, then what happens near extremes? Near objects so massive that space collapses inward, near speed so fast that motion approaches an absolute limit. The equations offered answers that felt more like warnings. As objects accelerated, time slowed relative to the outside world. Push this far enough, and time nearly froze. Not as an illusion, but as a measurable effect. Near intense gravity, the same thing occurred. Time pooled, stretched thin, and struggled to move forward. This buildup led to a disturbing implication. Different regions of the universe experience radically different amounts of time. Some places age quickly, others barely age at all. The universe does not share a common rhythm. It hums in layered tempos, stacked on top of each other. This shattered the idea of a universal timeline. History itself became relative. What felt like ages in one place could pass in moments elsewhere. The universe was no longer synchronized. It was fragmented into overlapping flows of time. Emotionally, this was difficult to accept. Time is how humans measure meaning, memory, progress, loss. To learn that it bends and stretches without regard for experience felt destabilizing. It suggested that our sense of duration was not fundamental. It was contextual. By this point, time was no longer a trustworthy guide. It behaved consistently, but not intuitively. It obeyed rules that cared nothing for human perception. And those rules were leading toward a climax that would push time to its breaking point. The climax arrives with a truth that still feels uncomfortable. Time is not a universal river flowing evenly through reality. It is a terrain. And how fast you move through it depends on where you are and how you move. Once this was understood, the universe stopped having a single now. There was no master clock, no shared present. Every object carried its own timeline, shaped by speed and gravity. Time did not break. It revealed its structure. This realization reshaped physics. But it also reshaped meaning. Aging became relative. Duration became negotiable. The future and past stopped being fixed distances and became paths through space-time. Time was no longer something we traveled inside. It was something we helped create. Today, this behavior is not theoretical. It keeps satellites synchronized. It keeps navigation accurate. It quietly proves itself every second. Time bends, and our technology bends with it, whether we notice or not. Yet the deeper implication remains unsettling. There is no universal rhythm guiding existence. No shared heartbeat of the cosmos. Time behaves locally, personally, and without concern for intuition. The moment time refused to behave was not a failure of physics. It was a revelation, a reminder that reality is not built to feel comfortable. It is built to remain consistent, even when that consistency feels strange. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future.